In this video, I want to mention a difference between treadling and hand cranking and why hand cranking takes some practice. This is a quilt I'm working on, and the place is a mess. That's a box of boxes. And you know what? Here, this is my mess. Those are all different sewing machine parts. That whole box is out of my old Singer treadle with my first 66 in it. So be prepared to have boxes of stuff like that. But on the quilts, I'm working on a bandana quilt, and I started hand cranking. Now I don't know yet whether I'm going to fix this or not, but when you're hand cranking this size of a square, which is about, I think these are 18 or maybe 20 inches. I don't have a ruler right here. And using the example of my 96 tree stitching pattern, when you go from one side to another, or you go from one side to another, it's very difficult with a hand crank to keep everything flat. And like I said, I don't know if I'll pull this out and redo it or not yet. But you can see that I was probably going in this direction, and with these were hand cranked. I switch around from machine to machine depending on what I'm doing. So see how there's a little pucker here? When I wash this, if I were to wash it in hot water, a lot of that would disappear, but I'm not necessarily going to wash it in hot water. So this is what takes practice with a hand crank, is being able to know your presser foot, your tension, and the pressure on the presser foot that can be adjusted on the top of many machines, so that you get minimal puckering. And it does take practice. I've been hand cranking for a long time, and when I did this one, I was watching TV and hand cranking, and I missed the puckers. Now bring in a treadle, and here's another, just a quick mention. You see how there's a slight difference in the blues? These are all from the same manufacturer, all washed in the same wash, and the ink or the dye that they use releases differently. So be prepared for minor color differences in your quilts. But anyway, so here we are at a treadle, and I'm doing the same thing, and there's no puckering. Similar would be an electric machine with a wide enough bed. And the key is the width and how your fabric sits when you're hand cranking. Now, this is the last square I have to do, but I will do a video in the future of hand cranking, and where I will probably find my limit of comfort for pushing fabric through in size. Like I said, this is probably 18, maybe 20 inches square. A 12-inch square, which would be closer to this, is much easier to handle. So you may find, if you're going to use a hand crank all the time, it's not really limiting your fabric size, it's just changing your design. So in my case, instead of a 16-inch finished square, if I move down to a 12-inch square and do the same design on a 12-inch square on a hand crank, I'm going to get much less puckering because my hand is in a better proportion to the overall fabric. So then I'm not relying on how wide of a table or a bed do I have the machine on. I'm relying on how well can I control the fabric. So with a treadle or an electric in a cabinet, it's not an issue because you have both hands free to keep this flat, but especially in a wide table like this, the fabric lays flatter anyway. It's only, this would apply for like my 99, even my 66. Hand crank, the 15 as a hand crank, all the way down to a Model 20 or a Gateway, where in those cases you're actually rolling the fabric up. But you're doing that not only to fit it through the machine, but to control the fabric and where your stitches are going. So hand cranking itself does take practice.